you know, we have to understand, how is our media set up? I mean, we don't have a free establishment media. It's obvious. Uh, Anyone who's done any kind of study of something like Operation Mockingbird way back during the Cold War, this was CIA explicit manipulation of mainstream media and paying off hundreds of U.S. journalists without the public knowing. They just had them on the payroll. This is an old game, and it has never stopped. So when talks about establishment media, I'm not talking about YouTube people like you and me, but establishment media is very, very controlled. You might as well be talking about the old Soviet model. So when the establishment media is not touching this story, that should tell us something. That should tell us that what came out originally in December of 2017 was not welcome by many players in the upper level of the national security elite. I don't think that they were happy about this. But what they've done is, I think, very astutely taken as much control over the narrative as possible. They've done a very good job. With these so-called UAP hearings that we've seen in the United States over the last couple of years, which I think were designed to be as boring as possible, and also really didn't give a whole lot of information, and also trying to reframe this subject because there's so much that's missing. The whole history of the UFO phenomenon has now gone missing in all these public conversations.
Chris Lado, welcome to Lado Files. Welcome to the channel. I'm Chris Lado. That was Richard Dolan on That UFO podcast. There was 2 great interviews over the weekend that I watched, longer interviews, an hour and 23 minutes here with Richard Dolan. And then Ross Coulthart, he was on Theories of Everything with Kurt Jaimungal. Kurt's most popular video, actually, from a few years ago was with Ross Coulthart. I don't think Kurt even meant to get into the phenomenon, investigating it all. He's hardcore physics, looking for theories of everything, but he's been drawn into this because of public demand. Public demand is really drawn in because there's a dearth of knowledge. There's a lack of information out in the mainstream. That's the point of today's video.
So they did some, but you are right in that the New York Times, other than with Leslie Kean and Ralph Blumenthal, really did no meaningful follow-up whatsoever, nor did any of the other major establishment outlets. Washington Post, which is, in my view, really little more than a CIA outlet anyway. But you got the New York Times, you got the Post, you've got all of the major television networks, particularly, I'm thinking of the United States. The only outlet in the U.S. of a mainstream sort that followed up, as I mentioned before, was Fox with Tucker Carlson. And at Fox, it was only Tucker Carlson. There was really nobody else there. He was really the standalone voice. So I think if you're suggesting that the establishment was very reticent or even hostile to the story, I would say that's probably true.
How could we get to this point in history, right? How could we get here after over 85 years? This secret, the supposed UAP, alien craft secret, is under our noses for 85 years. How could this possibly be true? And what I found is, although it is the First Amendment, freedom of speech, the press is extremely censored in the United States and other countries. We'll go through, and it's not like this is hidden information, okay? We'll look it up. What it means is the press has been heavily censored in the United States and other countries, even though we think we have freedom of the press. I'll show you that we don't. That is the primary reason this hasn't been covered, is because they've been censored.
Companies should be able to compete for contracts with, to help the American government do what it does well. If it's true that there are companies that have been given access to non-human alien technology and that they've had that technology now for 60, 70, 80 years, if that's true, and that's what Mr. Grush is alleging, if that's true, then there are other companies in America that have every right to feel resentful and bitter that they've been cut out of the deal. It might explain the reason for some of the dominant companies in defense aerospace today. This is what's at stake here. And so what's going on behind the scenes is, yes, there is a formidable military and intelligence lobby trying to shut this whole Grush stuff down, trying to stop the Senate Intelligence Committee from holding public hearings. And it's the Senate Intelligence Committee, by the way, that has the security clearances that would allow it to hear the evidence that Mr. Grush has got. But what's going on behind the scenes is, quietly and behind the scenes, there are other people who are not part of that defence aerospace loop who are bitterly angry, and they are lobbying their congressmen as well. And they're saying, if this is true, and I think it is, because I've had conversations with some of these people, if this is true, this is outrageous. This is an abrogation of the good qualities of American capitalism and free enterprise. Why should these private aerospace companies be given a free run? Hence, this groundbreaking legislation, which for once and for all is going to force the truth to come to the open. If it's true that there is non-human technology of non-Earth origin held by private aerospace companies somewhere in the world, under this law that's proposed, they will now be forced to reveal it. That's why this matters.
So that was Ross Coulthart on Theories of Everything. And as he's saying is, even if Congress learns, there's a very high likelihood that we won't even find out. The public will still not find out. After 85 years, they will still be able to keep this horrendous crimes against humanity secret, and somehow justify to themselves that they're good human beings. I really don't understand this. You're going to keep the knowledge, the existence of alien life, extraterrestrial life, non-human intelligence, whatever you want to call it, non-human, that we're not alone. Going to answer the Fermi paradox for the last 40 years. Oh, I wonder what dark matter is. Oh, I can't figure it out. Dark energy. Well, we've just been stuck. We've just been at this brick wall of information. We can't figure out what's going on for the last 40 fucking years with dark matter, dark energy. We're getting no signals from space, right? We're getting no other people, no other beings or entities trying to contact us in any manner, any way. Nope. And we're keeping it secret. So how could this possibly happen? How could this possibly happen? Well, first, let's look at the freedom of the press numbers for the world. Let's look at the world rankings. All right, the World Press Freedom Index is an annual ranking of countries compiled and published by Reporters Without Borders since 2002, based upon the organization's own assessment of the country's press freedoms records in the previous year. Goes through the methodology. They're focused on media independence, environment and self-censorship, legislative framework, transparency, infrastructure, and abuses, as well as violence. So here we go, guys. And yeah, I think this highlights a lot of our problems, okay? So top of the list, you're going to notice, is Norway. Interestingly, in Norway, I have one of my strongest fan bases is actually in Norway. They seem the most up-to-date on the phenomena. They have their press actually originally back in right when the phenomena came out, I believe the 50s. The Norwegian press came out and attacked the farmers, actually, the people that lived in Hessdalen. The press attacked them. And there was kind of a rising up, okay? And there was a backlash against the press. And from what I understand, based off my interviews with the Norwegian investigators, is now that the phenomena is actually kind of respected. And the press respects it. And they don't say stupid things like in our headlines, right? The headline has the word crazy in it, or conspiracy. If it has those words in the headline, okay, it is being propagandized. Okay, it's being propagandized. You can just think of it that way. Okay, so interesting that Norway's top of the list, and really probably my top supporters by country, right? It's a small country. And then as we go down the list now, you're going to notice the other Scandinavian nations, right? There's Ireland, Denmark, Sweden, Finland. Okay, so these are high scores, and this is their score right here, 95. And then you can see over time. So this is 2019. They stayed about the same, gotten a little better. Always stayed number 1 in Norway. Ireland moved up from 15 to number 2. Okay, so Ireland's doing proper things. Denmark as well stayed really top 5 necessarily. Sweden, Finland, Netherlands. Okay, my own country I live in is Portugal. Okay, why do I do like Portugal? I think it is free. It's very safe. 3rd safest country in the world. That's why I live here. It's free. It's safe. People are friendly. As we go down now here's the first Five Eyes nation. Okay, New Zealand. Look at that, 84. They're 13th in the world. Out of 180 nations, they are number 13, New Zealand, in terms of freedom of the press. So what am I expecting is that New Zealand should have our first break from journalists. Where are the journalists in New Zealand that are highlighting the phenomena? Same thing as Canada, as we saw. Larry Maguire sent that letter to the Canadian Prime Minister, right? Saying, you may not know, but the DARPA equivalent in Canada has been involved in examination analysis of unidentified aerial phenomena, parts, material since the 1950s can be traced back. Okay, there we go. That honest integrity of your journalists. Okay, and then let's go further down. Latvia, Slovakia, Iceland. There we go. Germany, relatively high. Okay, Costa Rica, France now, number 24. Okay, South Africa is 25. South Africa is 25. Think of that. Finally, we see the UK. Okay, now we're getting into the UK, 78.51. This is like mediocre, basically, and then followed by Australia, number 27. Okay, but freedom of the press, if it's really valuable to you in those countries, United Kingdom and Australia, you are 26 and 27 in the world. It's not that good. Okay. After that, it's Moldova, Austria, Trinidad, Tobago. Where's the US? Okay, are we getting there yet? There's Jamaica. Okay, the US is lower than Jamaica, lower than, well, Belgium. Taiwan, okay, lower than Taiwan. Spain has a freer press, according to this. Andorra, okay, the US is lower than Andorra. Let's go. Who else are we lower than? North Macedonia. Okay, now we're getting into basically not good. Okay, Montenegro, we're lower than Montenegro. Argentina has a freer press. Italy, country of Italy, known for its worldwide corruption, has a freer press than the United States. Let's look at Croatia, the DR, okay, and then right in between Tonga and Gambia. Okay, Tonga and Gambia, in terms of press freedom, is the United States. Look at that. Good job, everybody. Maybe you should have put it into the Constitution instead of as an amendment. And then maybe free speech would have actually mattered and you would have cared about it. Or maybe we focus on this. Maybe we focus on this number as something to strive for instead of number of weapons or number of countries invaded in the last few decades. You know, maybe we focus on this, actually debriefing ourselves, information on what are actually we doing, actually what's going on out in the world. But it's being censored. Number 45. Think of that. 45 out of 180. Let's see. At least we beat. Let's see. Who else did we beat? Ivory Coast. We got them. Papua New Guinea. Niger, Ghana. A little bit above them. Okay. So I was shocked, really. I was shocked to see this. I'm shocked to see that hasn't really changed. You know, look, we were 48th in 2019. This is 2019, 2020. There's COVID. Well, oh, look, we got improved during COVID. And then we realized, no, we didn't. We didn't. We stayed exactly the same. So this is why, if you're wondering, how is it possible that I'm not hearing about the UAPs? How could it be even true that this is happening? And this is one of the reasons, censorship, okay? Because we don't want to know. And we're happy with accepting this. The US is happy with accepting this. Otherwise, you would change it, correct? I've been getting a lot of emails as well saying, oh, you're down on America, you're down on the systems. I am, okay? I'm very disappointed. You know, I fought for the Constitution. I had a pocket of the Constitution in my flight suit for 5 years, okay? I memorized the Constitution. I knew it. And it's even more mind-screwing to me when it's just obvious, when it's obvious that there are basic priorities, basic rights, such as freedom of the press, that are obviously being totally screwed in the US. You're accepting number 45. You won't accept that Russia invades its neighbor after we invaded 2 other countries on the other side of the world, but you will accept to be number 45th in the world in press freedoms. And somehow we're seeing again that this mainstream news, Grush, literally the biggest whistleblower, supported by the Inspector General of the United States, with hearings coming. Hearings are coming from Kirsten Gillibrand. He's going to be out there, open hearings. And is there anything in the news? Anything in the mainstream news? No. Why? Because we're 45th in the world. Honestly, do you need any other proof? I don't think so. So how do you change? The first change is acknowledging the problem, right? When you go to AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, I know none of you have alcohol problems out there. I actually had an alcohol problem. What is the first and necessary step is understanding that you have a problem, okay? I am an alcoholic, okay? You have to stand up there and say that. Why is that step 1? Acknowledgement is the first thing. Debriefing. Why are fighter pilots supposedly, American fighter pilots, supposedly the best in the world? Supposedly, because we can handle the debrief. In the debrief, rank doesn't matter, okay? I saw most of the time rank did matter in the debrief, okay? But it should not matter. It should not matter. If you mess up and shoot the wrong guy, that needs to be debriefed, Okay. But unfortunately, in a nation where you're number 45 in the world in your press freedoms, you are not getting that information. You don't even know that you shot the wrong guy because they're hiding that information from you. That information is being hidden. Exactly. Why does the Fermi paradox make no sense? How could the Fermi paradox make absolutely no sense? Didn't it always feel suspicious? Weren't you a little suspicious? The Fermi paradox? And yet we still can't find any breakthroughs in science. We just can't find the breakthroughs. And now all of a sudden, as this starts coming out, right now we have gravity. Oh, now we found gravity waves. Okay. Now we find neutrinos. Is it just timing, like miraculous timing? So what can we do? Can we take it back? Of course we can take it back. Humans still run it. We still run the government. The problem is we're being forced. Our dimensional space is being bent, curved by the higher dimensional organisms, okay, which is the corporations and the nations and whatever is above that. Okay, there is something above that. I honestly believe there is something above that, and that is what is affecting our nation. But we don't get any access to that information because we are 45th in the world in journalistic freedom.
And I wonder, though, similar question to what I asked you about how this came to be in the media. How did this get past those same walls of the Pentagon and classified briefings? Because no doubt in the decades preceding what's happening now, there have been conversations that have threatened to almost get out of those kind of hallowed halls. Why has this story, and we've got to say, been allowed to get this far? Because surely the Air Force and others within government, being as big and powerful and as scary as they are, have managed to quash this before. Well,
I'm not sure if that's the way that I would want to phrase it, because I mean, I've heard this type of thing before. People 6 years ago said, why would the CIA allow the New York Times to publish those two stories? And I think, we do live in a very controlled information environment, but it is not 100% controlled. I mean, we have to recognize there are different forces at play, not only within the establishment, which there are, and I do think that's why those stories got out, because there are factions within the Pentagon and within the national security community. But we shouldn't sell ourselves short, we the people, as a factor in this. In other words, I've been looking at this now. I wrote a book on disclosure 13 years ago. I tried to foresee, how could the end of UFO secrecy occur? And if it did, how might that affect our world? And, then as now, I recognized, I think that there are different forces at play. One that we sometimes overlook is the internet itself. Prior to 1990, there really wasn't an internet to speak of, and it was much, much easier for elites to control public conversations than now. I think the internet has been a significant factor. And in fact, if it were not for the internet, I don't think TTSA would have formed when it did, because there was all of these years of momentum developing behind the UFO subject for years and years. I don't think we should forget that. It was a tremendous amount of public pressure building up from below. And that, I think, did affect some of the, if I can call them, factions within the Pentagon, within the national security intelligence community. Yes, I think so. So to say, why did they allow? I don't know if I would phrase it that way, because we know, for example, that when Lou Elizondo had come out as a public person a few years ago, there were significant attacks against him by the Pentagon. They tried to say, he never ran the ATIP program. That was a lie. They had to retract that. They said a number of other things to try to diminish his stature. So it was obvious then that they were not happy that Elizondo came out. So why was he able to come out? Well, because he was able, because he had some support behind him, and there were people who opposed him. And I think that's what we are looking at. So the only area where I might quibble with the way you phrase it is that I don't think that we're looking at a monolithic structure. I think we're looking at a structure where we have a kind of labyrinthian bureaucracy where you've got groups fighting against groups. I don't think it's a unified thing.
Okay, so how I understand it is basically why crapstream media is staying the same, right? Censored, everything's locked down. The same few people are able to control all of the information that we're receiving. Anything that comes out about UAPs is immediately going to be censored, self-censored, attacked. You saw there, Lou Elizondo attacked. We've heard Grush attacked. So while the crapstream media is here in this location, right, still number 45th, what you're not seeing here is the background media, the rise of decentralized media. Decentralized media like this. I can record a video same day, edit it hopefully reasonably well, and then get that video out immediately, right? I can't be bought. I can't be paid off. Try and pay me. I don't even have sponsors. My only sponsors are from my Patreon members. You get it? That's why they can support me. And decentralized news is where it's coming from, right? Because you can't trust the mainstream. It's obviously censored. I mean, look at the numbers. It's obviously censored. And this is why Tucker Carlson is just killing everyone. I could not stand Tucker Carlson when he was on TV. His little, his outfits and his delivery and his message was so terrible. And now it's like he's saying, yeah, I didn't believe that stuff. I was basically doing it because they made me. And then we look at his numbers here. Okay. Look at the number, episode 1. Check this out. This is his first episode. He released on Twitter, right? Which Musk has said we're not going to censor. Musk has obviously said the FBI, he released the FBI Twitter files. So Tucker now, his first episode, June 6th, 120 million views. Look at that. 120 million views. And be like, maybe that's just the first one. His second one, here's episode 2. 60.5 million views. 60.5 million views. That is amazing. Let's look at this. He covered America's Principles Are at Stake, 103 million views. That was episode 3. Episode 4, Wannabe Dictator, 32 million. Okay. Episode 5, 17 million. Okay, so going down now, Bobby Kennedy is winning, 31 million. It's almost 32 million. Have you heard that? Has that been in the mainstream news that RFK Jr. is winning? Doubtful. Irony alert, the war for democracy enables dictatorship. Yep. 14.4 million views. Look at that. Episode 8, 7.1 million views. So this is what actual numbers are. Okay, let's look at what the mainstream news is reporting. This is so awesome. Okay, let's see. The second episode, this is from ABC News. Here we go. Check it here. This is from ABC News by Daniel Arkin, June 16th. The $1 million question: can the firebrand conservative commentator cultivate a devoted following on a brand new platform? I would say already proven correct. Okay, but let's see what they say here. Let's see how they garner it. What the crapstream news is telling itself. The second episode, a more than 12-minute monologue, received 13.2 million views. That's quite a bit. Improved over the second installment, the third one, netting 8.7 million views, according to the statistics, those numbers below the video. The numbers shared by Tubular Labs are not publicly available. The views metric that appears under most videos on Twitter refers to the approximate number of users who saw the tweet while scrolling through their timelines, not the number of people who pressed play and started watching. In fact, Twitter owner Elon Musk's team appears to have recently removed the real-time tally of video views that used to be a staple of the platform. Really? Because it was just there when I looked, showing millions of views. Twitter's press office did not immediately respond to emails seeking information about the metrics and requesting comment. Isn't Twitter's algorithm open source? Can't they look at it? And there we go, the insights. What insights? You guys are getting your ass kicked. The insights come at a pivotal time for Carlson, who established himself as one of the leading voices in the Trump-era conservative movement while at Fox News. Yes, and he said much of the things he was saying were BS. He didn't agree with them. He thought it was totally wrong. And now he's going out on his own decentralized news network, and he's killing everybody. And he's the only one. He's been basically the only one covering UAPs. Only one covering UAPs in any sort of news scenario. Everyone else is crazy gray men. Oh, look, a sub of 5 rich people died. Who cares? And then it was, let's go bomb the drug cartels in Mexico because our kids are dying of fentanyl. When I go and look at the news, this is what I see, okay? This is what I see. It's so ridiculous.
We kind of envisioned a different version of how disclosure would happen. Of course, we wrote this book back in 2010. And this was before, really 4 or 5 years before the internet and social media really started to clamp down, before you started seeing a significant tightening of social media and the internet in general, which we're seeing quite significantly. So back in those days, we imagined disclosure would happen like an avalanche. In other words, there would be some sighting that could not be denied, or some leak, maybe out of WikiLeaks, or as actually has turned out, a public statement by a respected official. We thought maybe that's a possibility. We were thinking someone along the lines of like stature of like Colin Powell or some big shot like that. We weren't thinking someone like David Grush, but or Lou Elizondo for that matter. But that did happen. But we didn't see the avalanche for a while. We didn't see this piling on effect. It's taken 6 years. So that was, I think, the big difference that the big thing we did not anticipate. But I think it's possible we're seeing it now. And I'll be honest, I'm surprised that this is happening, that this has happened, that has gone as far as it has gone. I had not expected that someone like Grush would actually make the statements that he did and get them publicly out there. So kudos to him. Kudos to Ross Coulthart also for interviewing him, and to Leslie and Ralph for writing the article about him. I think that was all very, very helpful for our public conversation. So the real question is, are we going to see the effect of rats deserting a sinking ship? That's really what I'm wondering. And I do think it's possible. I don't know that it will happen, but we're hearing rumors of other whistleblowers, claims of other whistleblowers that are out there. Not all of them are named, but claims that there are, a dozen or more craft that are secreted away in various installations. We've heard that. I don't have any more specific information. Claims about bodies have been put forward just recently. I don't know where these people are getting their information, but they are circulating around. And so it is possible that we might see something of an avalanche. That would be really quite interesting. But the other thing to keep in mind is that in our little UFO community bubble, this is a huge thing. We all have friends who don't follow this subject. I certainly have friends who don't follow UFOs at all. I was speaking to a couple of them just less than a week ago. It wasn't that long ago. I mean, this has been out for a while, and yet they were oblivious to any of this news. They had not heard at all any of it. And I think there's a lot of folks out there who are in a similar position.
But I bet all those people who ask will know about some dumb Titanic sub that imploded with some rich people on board. And here's a tip. Rich people all going to die too. They all have little insecurities, everything. Still people, still die when you go down in a submarine. You're still going to die anyway on the planet. But how are you going to die? Are you going to die scared, right? I'm scared of going outside without my gun. I need my gun. Is that how we're going to die? Fear? Is this the land of the free and the brave with a non-free journalist corps and a brave populace? As long as you're brave with your gun? I mean, is this really what we want from our country? You don't have to look any further, right? This is it. Threats and violence against journalists. Every 4 days, a journalist is killed in the world. Threats and violence against journalists. Here we go. De Vries' death. He was killed in the Netherlands, talking about criminal action. He came out against cocaine traffickers. De Vries' death prompted outpourings of condemnation and anger in Europe. Yet, right? Everyone's angry. Yet, many journalists and reporters around the world today risk their lives to uncover the truth. Every 4 days, a journalist is killed in the world. In 2020 alone, according to UNESCO, 62 journalists were killed just for doing their jobs. Between 2006 and 2020, over 1,200 media professionals lost their lives in the same way. In 9 out of 10 cases, the killers go unpunished. Great job, state. Good job, government. Maybe you focus on this number, huh? Instead of caring about Ukraine or some stupid submarine that implodes with some rich people on board. Who cares? Here's the best part for me. In many countries, investigating corruption. Okay, that's exactly what I've been yelling at. Trafficking. How about trafficking of alien goods? Human rights violations. How about all the people you've tortured, killed, all the experiencers you left in the dark, or the people in your program that you tortured? All those people right now who can't say anything and are scared for their lives because you're going to kill them and their families. Yeah, I cover that. Political, unfortunately, been drawn into that as well. And environmental issues as well, brought into this. I literally cover, and I'm not even kidding, every one of these. Every one of these. I cover corruption, trafficking, human rights violations, political issues, and environmental issues. I think they're all related. So anyway, guys, hope I make it. Hope I make it. Those numbers don't look that, I mean, it's not that many, right? 62 journalists in 2020. Yeah, that's not that high numbers. It's definitely lower numbers than being a fighter pilot. You know, you try and get insurance as a fighter pilot. That's always a good exercise. I wonder if I get insurance, if I can get life insurance as a journalist covering corruption, trafficking, human rights violations, political, environmental issues, mainly around the terrible lies and cowardice that we have seen from our leaders. And the point is, guys, there's 330 million Americans. There's only a few thousand, it sounds like, that actually have this information, meaning we are being held at ransom by a few thousand people. Okay, that is where the power of the people can come into account. And now we do have decentralized science. You saw, as Richard Dolan said there, now we have decentralized news sources. They couldn't pay off Stephen Greer, and they couldn't kill him, because once they kill him, all of a sudden, all of his claims become vastly more true. And now no one has someone to label a scammer and a con artist, right? Because he's dead. He was murdered. Maybe he was murdered for being a scam artist and a con artist. But I feel personally obligated. I don't have any other option than to speak out against this terrible injustice. I really think it's just information. If the people that are making these actions, doing these actions, even realized how much pain, suffering, and future negative benefit for them, their families, and their country, if they could see this, obviously, the first step is looking at the censorship. Okay, it's the First Amendment. The First Amendment is freedom of speech, should be freedom of the press, First Amendment. That's a reminder that it was not written into the Constitution, right? They had to come up, they're like, wait a minute, what about that important part? Don't countries always tell us what we can think and be like, no, we'll put it in as an amendment. The First Amendment, you guys focusing so much on the Second Amendment, right? Owning a weapon. But if you don't know, if you're pointing your weapon at the wrong direction, doesn't really help. I think we should focus on the First Amendment. Move that US ranking, man. Move that up into the top 10. By the way, those countries are also the happiest countries on the earth. If you look at Scandinavian countries, Denmark always comes in number 1, and the other Scandinavian countries follow it. What they read is actually correct. Their governments are actually oriented to provide for the people. Look at what our governments do now, right? The biggest thing a local state government can do is create jobs for its people, We don't want jobs. We want less work, less requirements from our government. Less requirement. Can you create less work? Why don't you focus on that? Creating less work, not more jobs. Create less work, more value for the humans. Create more value for your citizens. That should be value for citizens, not giving them jobs to do. Okay, no one really wants a job. People want meaning. We want passion in life. That's what we want. We don't want to have to do some pain in the ass job for decades where we're forced to lie to people. I mean, these people are tortured. These people on the program, all of you have been written into the program. I've talked a lot of trash, but I honestly feel so terrible for you guys. You guys are victims. You are the tortured. You are the tortured. And for what? For what? The US is not winning. You feel like you're winning, but you're not. Look at your gains. Look at your spoils at home. It's falling apart. People are leaving. I left the US. Why? Obvious reasons. It's not safe. People around me say ridiculous things. Why? Because they believe the mainstream crapstream media. Okay, so please, everyone, learn to think for yourselves. Learn to get information from decentralized sources. Look at the open, obvious data. It is obvious that our journalistic core is not free. Look, this is not a free press, everyone. This is not a free press. Okay, 48th in the world. You cannot be a stellar country. You are not identified as a stellar country if your First Amendment in your Constitution labels you at 45th in the world. Okay, that's not winning. That's losing, everybody. And spending more money on weapons, spending more money to go and mess with other countries, to go into their foreign affairs. Who cares? Half the people couldn't even pick Ukraine on a map before the war. Honestly, I bet a higher percentage couldn't even pick Ukraine on a map. If you went around and asked all Americans in the street, you wouldn't know. And now all of a sudden, it's like this thing we have to go save. We have to go save Ukraine. Isn't that a little suspicious? Doesn't it sound a little aggressive? That being said now, how do you know you lost situational awareness as a fighter pilot? is when you get it back. Okay, because when you don't have situational awareness, this is actually what's going on in the environment around you. Okay, and why is that important? Why is it so important when you are a fighter pilot to have high situational awareness and to be able to be debriefed? Because in real life, or here apparently, you can just say whatever bullshit you want in the crapstream media and nothing will be affected. These people can sit up in their ivory towers and they can say, yeah, let's go and bomb that country, right? And nothing in their lives ever actually gets affected, right? Nothing that they actually choose to do will be affected. And they get no feedback, right? They don't understand the terrible pain they're causing, right? If you blow up a house with a terrorist in it, who else do you think is in the house? Do you really think we go in there with the terrorists and be like, no women and children in here? Okay, everybody. No, they bombed the house. Do you know how many women and children we've blown up? No, you don't. Because none of that information gets back because we don't have a free press corps, obviously. It's not like you have to go and look hard. Just look at the open numbers, the basic numbers. And look what it feels like. It obviously feels like we're being lied to for most of the time, okay? So this is the crapstream media, all these supposed journalists say they're journalists. You're not journalists, okay? There's like a few journalists out there. Hirsch, right? There's one journalist. Look at his claims. This is from Seymour Hersh. And by the way, Hersh is a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist. He basically brought out the My Lai massacre. This guy highlighted the My Lai massacre, right? Which I'm pretty sure the government wasn't happy about. The government wasn't happy that we found out they're using Agent Orange. Meanwhile, we have tons of people with cancer, serious issues in Vietnam and at home. Like, how did that benefit us? So Seymour Hersh, who literally broke the My Lai massacre, breaks this: how America took out the Nord Stream pipeline. The New York Times called it a mystery, but the United States executed a covert sea operation that was kept secret until now. Okay, this is from Seymour Hersh. Okay, this is from February. I bet it was in the news maybe a few days. This is an amazing, amazing ecological disaster. All this methane going up into the air is an extreme environmental crisis, probably one of the worst ever. Whoever did this is a coward and a lying sack of shit. Okay, maybe not a coward because you went and did an ecological disaster, ruined the world for your own benefit, right? But look at this, who benefits, right? You just look at a murder mystery. Think of it that way. Who benefits the most, okay? And who has the capability to take this out? It's like 2 steps. That's all you really need. And for me, it would be if there was, and it looks like a secret organization that manages unidentified anomalous phenomena out there with their own secret navy. How hard would it be for a secret navy to go and blow up a pipeline? Honestly, all you need is one submarine with some divers, and they can make up all this other stuff. We're going to do all these things. Yeah, one submarine with any sort of special forces divers, a couple divers. Honestly, if it's not even that deep, I could do this. Teach me how to put on C4 devices, and I will do this. Okay, how hard could it possibly be? Not that hard. Okay, and yet again, out of the news. Oh, we're not going to talk about this. Who did take out the Nord Stream pipeline? Because it really, really, really benefited the US, right? It hurt Russia, it helped Ukraine, and it helped America because now Germany had to buy their fuel through the US. So, I mean, it's so, and yet here we go. We're just going to discount it. What are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about submarines blowing up underwater with some rich people on it, because apparently that is more important than this. And really, it's just debriefing sucks. Okay, debriefing is really, really hard. No one likes to be told they suck. No one likes to be told they made mistakes. But guess what? We all suck. We all make mistakes, and we're all programmable. That's the thing. But once you realize that, you can break free. Once you realize that, you can break free, and you can understand that these are affected. Everything you are seeing has been cultivated, filtered down, except for here. Except for here, man, not filtered. So see what happens. Hopefully I'm around. Thanks for all your help, guys. Please like this video, smash the like button, and then share it. Sharing it's the biggest way to get this information out, to fight the misinformation. They can't control everything. They can't control all of the sources. They can't. Now we have the internet, we have decentralized information, and we have the UAP Society, which again is going to use the same tactics, decentralized data capture and analysis. That's the idea of UAP Society using Web3. Still going in the background. We're not giving up. That'll continue to put just ratcheting pressure as we just have more and more. Imagine thousands of cameras out here, decentralized, connected to blockchain. Imagine that. How are they going to discount that? You're going to go around and kill everybody? You're going to kill all those thousands of people with their cameras? Is that the plan? I don't know. Maybe the plan. I think we should know everybody. Transparency is the best answer. Transparency, sunlight kills all viruses, right? COVID didn't last outside in the sun. Should just had all our schools outside. Did anyone even think of this? No, couldn't even be an option. Can't think out of the box. We got to go with the crap stream media based on our doctors who are not corrupt. Knowing's half the battle, guys. And like I said before, you realize you lost your situational awareness when you get it back. That's when you realize, oh my God, I was totally in the dark. And that's it. That should be this case is, oh my God, our media is totally fucked. Okay. And we need a different paradigm. And you can see it's just getting worse because as the crap stream media is losing viewers, they're losing serious funding, serious money. So they can't even have better journalists out there. They're reliant, more and more reliant on the government just to feed them the information from their sources that they trust inside the military, the government, Pentagon. You get more exclusive content, more fiery content on patreon.com/Chris Lato. Thanks for being here. Have a great day. Peace.